Hello and welcome. You're watching this special broadcast and I'm Poonam Burde. Amid the nation's anger over France's pension reform, Emmanuel Macron addressed the public for the first time since signing it into a law. The French president stressed on the need of raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. He called it that it was needed for unity and conciliation. Macron gave himself 100 days to heal the country, asking the government to open talks with unions on a varied variety of issues. To which the people said that they will not want this reform and the protests will continue. Now, Emmanuel Macron has also promised a series of concrete measures to boost pay and careers, as well as improve education, health and justice systems. However, the French president's plan to reset his government's image failed. Immediately after his speech, we saw the head of France's largest union, the CFDT's Laurent Berger, come out and say that Macron's speech had been totally empty. Meanwhile, protesters gather around the country chanting anti-Macron slogans while banging on pots and pans even as he was giving that address. France will witness yet another mass protest held by the Labour Union on the 1st of May, which is International Workers' Day. Now remember, Macron delivered his speech just after 2 days of signing into the law plans to increase the retirement age by 2 years to 64.
Françaises, Français, mes chers compatriotes.
My dear compatriots, as you know, this Friday, April 14, the Constitutional Council validated for the most part the law on our pensions and I therefore logically promulgated it.
Promulguée. Cette réforme est-elle acceptée? À l'évidence, non. Et malgré les mois...
Is this reform accepted? Obviously not. And despite months of consultation, a consensus could not be found. And I regret it. We must learn all the lessons from this.
C'est là le grand projet que je porte devant vous et avec vous. Reconstruire et retrouver l'élan de notre nation.
This is the great project that I bring before you and with you. Rebuild and regain the momentum of our nation.
Indépendance au service de cette idée de la justice si française. C'est pourquoi j'ai proposé de recevoir les organisations.
Do not give in to divisions and on the contrary, hold this course for our independence in the service of this idea of justice that is so French.
Et cela
And that is why I offered to meet with the employers' organization and trade unions as soon as tomorrow morning for those who are ready for it. And the door will always be open. And this in order to open without any limit, without any taboo, a series of negotiations on essential subjects to improve the incomes of employees, improve careers, better share the wealth, improve working conditions, find solution to professional fatigue, increase the employment of older workers and help them with retraining. This new work-life pact will be built in weeks and months to come through social dialogue.
Par le dialogue social, nous avons devant nous 100 jours.
We have before us 100 days of peace, unity, ambition and action in the service of France. It is our duty and I trust you. I trust us to make it happen. Long live the Republic and long live France.
Je nous fais confiance pour y arriver. Vive la République et vive la France.
For 3 long months, France has witnessed unprecedented protests. Where does the country go from here on? Joining us on this broadcast is journalist François Gauthier. Thank you so much for joining us and putting this in perspective for us. And I want to ask you that Emmanuel Macron in his address said that he understands the anger, but this reform was required. Now, not doing anything is not the solution, is one of the things he said. He also said, my door is open. The government wants to have discussions. But are those opposing this reform open to having those discussions and negotiations? The kind of speech that he gave yesterday, is that enough to allay these fears?
Well, it's also a political protest against Mr. Macron, the opposition, the workers, the Communist Party, the Socialist Party, those from another rightist wing. So it's used as an opposition to Mr. Macron generally, not only about this raising of the retirement age, but because a lot of people in France seems to have a hatred for Mr. Macron, which I find unjustified because in that particular case of the retirement age, 64 is still very young. You know, I lived most of the time in India. I see how people work hard here for very little and work late in their life, to 70, 72, 75, sometimes even later. So I think there is there are several aspects. One is that the French are spoiled They used to be taken care from birth till death and pensioned very early. Secondly, joining the violent protest are a lot of immigrants who are frustrated because maybe they're not getting their citizenship or their social benefits as fast as they wanted to. And thirdly, it's a sign of a weakening psyche. Europe needs to work hard. There is already recession there. The growth is very little. I don't understand how the French can go down the streets and break down everything. On top of that, it's a minority of the French because the vast majority of the French who take the metro, take the train, fly,
Yes.
they're very hassled by the strike. I mean, I'm going
Yes,
to
and we've
Paris.
seen those protests go on for 3 months now. They started sometime in January. So over 3 months now, those protests are continued. Even now, in fact, we know that on Labor Day, we perhaps are going to be seeing those protests again. But Francois, I want to ask you that it's not just about the age that really has raised the hackles, isn't it? It's also the manner in which it was done. Because many are claiming that not only did they try to push through the lower parliament, there was no vote, then Macron even ended up signing it into a law in the dead of the night.
It's a long due reform, and Mr. Macron has been speaking. It's not like he threw it, on the French without preparation. He's been speaking about it for the last 5-6 years. So it's overdue, and there've been other presidents who thought that it was necessary to raise the retirement age because it costs so much to the French state in terms of medical care, pension, etc. So I think Mr. Macron's speech was fair. I mean, I disagree with him on other matters. For instance, when he went to China and said that, more or less implied that China taking back Taiwan is of no concern to Europe. But on this, I have to agree with him because, again, 64 is very young. Again, the French are very spoiled because they're taken care from birth to death. And again, there is violence in the streets and breaking down things is not the answer. And definitely, and Mr. Macron is opening his door, says, I'm open to negotiation. He's inviting the syndicates to come and talk to him. I don't think he can do better than that.
Right, and I want to ask you, Francois, before I let you go, that, President Macron still has about 4 more years left in his second stint. Do you think the kind of protest and the opposition that we've seen on this particular reform, that's going to have bearing on some of the other decisions that his government takes in the future? Also, as far as his personal political career goes, because his approval rating has dropped to a record low now of 23%.
You see, the alternative to Mr. Macron is Mrs. Le Pen, who's a far right-wing politician, and every time there is a chance that she or her father come to power, the entire opposition, right and left and communists, unite together to defeat her. So I don't see any alternative to Mr. Macron now, in the same way that we don't see any alternative to Mr. Modi in India. He's there to stay. Maybe he's unpopular at the moment, but popular opinion changes very quickly. Paris is very dirty. There is so much garbage accumulated. Definitely, the Parisians and the French are fed up with this strike. They would like a break. They would like a break. And soon the holidays are coming, and it's sacred for the French people. Holiday time means no, no fighting, no syndicate, no demonstration. So I think it's going to stabilize and slowly die down till September, till what the French call the rentrée, the political rentrée, the school rentrée, where everybody goes back to work. So I think till September, maybe on the 1st May, there will be a lot of things. But 1st May, the national holiday, the French people don't like to spoil their holiday. So I doubt it will be a big thing on the 1st of May. So till September, I think Mr. Macron is safe.
Sure, and fall is when they're hoping that these changes also come into effect. So a few more months to go. How the government deals with it, what really pans out, we'll keep an eye out. But Francois Gauthier, thank you so much for joining us here with your perspective.